Hello gamers from around the world. This is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to today's episode of the World of Gaming, your number one podcast, where we discuss everything that the world of gaming has to offer, games, news, technology, and today we do that with a very special guest, my good friend Luke Lohr, aka the Insipid Ghost, the host of the Xbox Expansion Pass. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure to join you. I am so excited to be here. I consider it a privilege. So thank you for having me.
No, really, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule, of your busy schedule. Appreciate it. For those who don't know, Luke and I, we were on a lot of podcasts together when the pandemic started, at least one or two podcasts each week. And when things got slowly back to normal, we only met in a few other shows. So it's really awesome to have you on here because I know it's the middle of the day for you. So thanks for joining. I want to also say a big welcome, of course, to everyone who is already in chat. I already see a lot of passionate gamers here in the chat. Welcome to you guys. And of course, also welcome to everyone who listens after the fact on Spotify, on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, all the good stuff. And if you do that, it would be awesome of you to consider to leave a review. Hopefully a 5-star review if you enjoyed the program. That really helps these small podcasts out. But with that out of the way, Luke, tell us a little bit about your awesome podcast that you host, the Xbox Expansion Pass.
Sure, gladly. Well, of course, I do host the Xbox Expansion Pass, which is it's available on all podcast services as well as YouTube in audio form. And in short, it is a show that focuses primarily on the gaming industry news and its effect on the Xbox ecosystem as one part of it, where, if there's relevant PlayStation news that impacts Xbox, we'll discuss it. If there's Xbox adjacent news, we'll discuss that. But my pride and joy and my favorite part of the show, in fact, is getting to welcome on the people that make games, the people that bring games to gamers. So developers, voice actors, designers, engineers, bringing the games to the gaming community. I welcome them onto the show. So most recently, I just had on the narrative lead for TMNT Shredder's Revenge. I've had voices like Ed Freeze, the former vice president of Xbox, on. I really enjoy bringing people in to discuss their craft, discuss what it is they do, why they do it, how they do it. Just this morning, I got off a call with Rebellion, the makers of Sniper Elite 5. And
nice.
That'll be on the next episode. I just love talking to people that help bring games to gamers. And I try to do that with as many different voices as possible, from indie to AAA, and as many aspects of the gaming industry, from development to acting to hardware.
Yeah, and you do a fantastic job. It is one of my favorite podcasts to listen to because it is always in such a convenient format. It's not like a 3-hour-long podcast, but you do a very, very good job in doing these interviews and discussing the topics of the week. It's really a podcast I enjoy listening to.
Thank you.
So, guys, if you are interested and want to have a look for yourself, just click in the description of the show note. You will find the link to Luke and his podcast and his socials, and all the links are in the description. So just click in there and you will find everything.
Thank you. Man. I appreciate it.
And I also want to already say a big thank you to the first super chat of the day, coming in from Jacob Novik, who sends in 20 Swedish krona. He says, I have 19 hours and 33 minutes in Fall Guys. So addicting and fun. That's awesome, dude. It's like in 2 days getting 19 hours. That is awesome. I've been playing it myself, and we'll talk about that in a second. But you know what else is awesome, Luke? If you can customize your gaming equipment. And that's why I want to introduce today's sponsor of the show, which is Play Vital. They offer different ways to customize your gaming equipment, like controllers, your consoles, and everything that the gamer needs. Head over to gamingcobra.com. You will get 10% off with the code Boxenberger. You can find, for instance, little nuts that you can attach to the thumbsticks to customize the height, width, and grip of your thumbsticks. You will find different rubber grips you can attach to the controllers. For all controllers out there, the Nintendo controller, the PlayStation, and of course the Xbox controller, and all that good stuff. So head over to gamingcobra.com to get 10% off with the code Boxenberger. Alternatively, you can also use this link in the description of the show. All right. But with that out of the way, Luke, I want to move over to the games of the week. All right, Luke, tell us a little bit. What have you been playing? What has kept you busy?
Oh, man. So I'm a little bit embarrassed to say I've gone down some rabbit holes of late. Prior to Shredder's Revenge coming out, which I've put extensive time into, I wanted to play Ninja Turtles games. And the only way to do that legally was to boot up my old Xbox 360 and go into my archived downloads and scroll way back to the Xbox Live Arcade game that I downloaded long ago. And that took me down a bigger rabbit hole. I started playing the old arcade game on my 360, and then I started investigating all the games that I could play on my 360 that are not available in back compat. So I bought it's a lot of licensed stuff. Most recently, I've been playing this one, 007 Legends.
Oh, nice.
It is not great.
How does it hold up?
It doesn't hold up well. It doesn't hold up well. In fact, a lot of the stuff that is not available via back compat now is either licensed or it doesn't hold up well. But I will say, as an avid Bond fan, I am enjoying playing the game. So I've been playing that. I've got a few other Bond games on order right now for 360, just to boot up kind of in between my regular gaming sessions of Halo Infinite, Sea of Thieves, and Avengers. Bring all the hate. I love Avengers. I think it's really come a long way. Same with Sea of Thieves, and I look forward to when Infinite kind of hits its full stride at some point. But I regularly play a lot of those titles and then kind of mix other things in. I'm playing a horror game right now. I don't know how many do you want? I've got a lot. Playing a horror game right now that's coming out next week for review, which has a name that I can't remember, but it's weird. Good horror game, but weird. I've been dancing around after Shredder's Revenge. Nice. It's just been a matter of lots of different titles and not going super hardcore into one at the moment. You know how you get locked in on one game, or you just kind of peruse. I'm more perusing right now.
Nice. Yeah, I just finished Ayuden Chronicles earlier. I don't know if you've played that. It's a Japanese RPG, a side scroller. Like a brawler, but it is a deep RPG with all the RPG mechanics. Really enjoyed that. And I've been also playing a lot of Fall Guys lately. I want to throw some gameplay up here. I just need to briefly change the overlay here. The perfect super sticker comes in from Andrew Sauce from that with $5 He says, noob, yeah. This was my first hour of Fall Guys that I recorded, but it is a lot of fun to play. Yesterday evening, I had a long session with Wandering Dutch and Patje, and we had so much fun with Fall Guys. Very, very, very unique game. And my continued addiction is Age of Empires 4. Yeah, I just can't stop playing it. I have 250 hours into the game, 260 by now, I think. It's just so good, and I really hope that it comes to consoles soon because, that's a game everyone needs to play. It is just that good.
I'm excited to play Fall Guy. I haven't played it yet. I've never actually played it at all. But me
neither.
Once the Halo stuff hits, I'm in. That is going to be when I'm dive in because I'm very easy to please. And the moment that Halo skin shows up in something, I'm like, well, here I am. That's what I'm doing. And as far as Age of Empires, that game is so well reviewed. I need to play that game, but I'm more Halo Wars. That's more my style. That's kind of more where I am, if that makes sense.
I love Halo Wars. I love strategy games. It is one of my favorite genres. But yeah, there is just something unique to Age of Empires. I don't know what it is, but they just nailed it, and it is so addictive. And there are so many different countries you can play now, many different modes you can play, and then of course online is still a lot of fun. Yeah, I just can't stop playing. It was my most played game last year, and it looks like it will become my most played game this year again. So yeah, that just tells you about the quality of the game.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So, guys, let us know in chat what you are playing. I also want to hear that. And of course, with that, we move just over to the news of the week. So, I want to congratulate you. You're one of the few people that, when they are here for the first time, don't press the refresh button in the browser when these jingles play. Because people always think they accidentally dropped out or something, and then they press the refresh button, and that actually kicks you out of the show. So, congrats on not doing it.
Yeah, go me.
All right, guys, we have a couple of news this week. It wasn't probably not the biggest news week of the year, but whenever these weeks start, I start to wonder, okay, what are we going to talk about on Thursday? And then by Thursday, I have a list this long with topics that are worthy of a discussion. And I want to start with the latest one, the breaking news kind of thing, and that is A Plague Tale Requiem. They had earlier a stream. It was about 15 minutes long, and they revealed the release date at the end of it with October 18th. So, yeah, middle of October, A Plague Tale Requiem is coming out. They have shown 15 minutes of straight gameplay, and it looked fantastic. Luke, have you seen something about A Plague Tale?
I've seen stuff about it, but to be honest, A Plague Tale never quite clicked with me. Okay. And I think it's the lack of action, at least seeming lack of action, because I've not played it. But I will say with Requiem and the excitement about it and its release timing, I'm debating going in and playing the first one because I believe it is in Game Pass.
It is?
And, yeah, I'm debating going into it because every single thing I hear about this is fantastic.
It is. Like, well, it is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. The story is absolutely awesome. Very tense atmosphere in that game. The writing is really, really good. The gameplay mechanics, it's a mixture in between action and stealth. So you have action, but you also have some stealth elements in it, and you got to solve some minor riddles, and yeah, it's just fantastic. It's really one of the, if not the most underrated game of the last gen. That game deserves all the praise, and it runs now beautiful on the Series X. It has a patch, an enhancement patch, and you can choose in between 4K 60 or 1440p and 120 frames. So if you really want to play it at high frame rate, it supports 120 frames, plays beautiful. Can't recommend it enough. And yeah, it's coming out on October 18th. And I have had a discussion yesterday with Wandering Dutch, actually, who is also in chat. Shout out to you, brother. About, yeah, what is coming out for the rest of the year in terms of, like, we know what Xbox has coming out from a first party perspective. Absolutely nothing, and a couple of games come into Game Pass, but it's also relatively light on the third party front, at least for the next couple of months. And October seems now to be the crowded month, the second crowded month of the year, with after February, you remember when we had like Dying Light, Horizon Forbidden West, we had Elden Ring, Tiny Tina's and all of these Wonderland and all these games launched in like 4 or 5 weeks. And October seems very similar like that. We have Scorn, High on Life comes out in October. And then we have Call of Duty coming out. We have Gotham Knights on October 25th. Overwatch 2 is launching in early access in October. And now it's also a Plague Tale Requiem. So my first question to you is, what do you make of this really weird year in gaming of 2022? We have had like February, March, very crowded, busy times. Then we have like 6-7 months, basically nothing that is coming out. And then we have like everything squeezed into October again. So what do you make of this?
Well, I think what we're seeing right now is studio triage. They were able to, in 2021 and 2022, or first half of 2022, get out the games that they could, right? Finish projects, make do with what they had available to them as work from home began. And what you're really seeing now in kind of this middle 2022 is what couldn't happen, the things that couldn't be made to release on time, and now they're trying to crunch them in. And some of them are going to move. Obviously, I think October is so crowded, from Midnight Suns to Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Gotham Knights.
Right,
Scorn.
Midnight Suns also coming there. Yeah,
I think exactly. Forspoken is in there as
Forspoken
well.
is in there. Yeah, at the very beginning.
Yeah, and then you add to that the things that are coming to Game Pass, like Persona 5 and I think Signalis and Scorn is in there. It's just a lot. It's a whole lot. So I expect some of them to move. Some of them simply because it is so crowded, others because they'll need more development time, and we'll probably see those announcements through the course of the year. But it really is something that's been said on many shows by many people, so not an original idea by me, but it's just the full effect of what work from home did to so many studios and when and how they were able to react. I think that's really what it is, and credit has to be given to everyone involved in terms of development, but especially to those indies that have once again carried the weight where the AAA games couldn't. They continue to be the lifeblood of the gaming industry, and too often forgotten, I think.
I agree. I absolutely agree. We have had that discussion like a week or two before the big showcase week, that the indie roadmap for 2022 is looking absolutely stunning. And yeah, so that's why I wanted to continue this discussion here now with some talk about the third-party game roadmap. We have like August. That's when the next bigger game of the year comes out, and that will be Madden on August 19th and Saints Row on August 23rd. I want to also give a shout out to Destroy All Humans 2, but I don't think that this is a AAA experience like people consider it. Still an awesome game. Can't wait. So yeah, those are the next few releases after the last bigger release, which was in the very beginning of April. So I can't remember a gaming year where we had that big of a gap. So but like you said, I agree that I think 2022 just shows the trouble of the gaming industry with the pandemic and the working from home situation. Are you looking forward to any of these games? Saints Row, is that something for you?
You know, it's funny. I know Madden was the first one you listed. I don't think anybody really in the podcast space is going to be losing their minds for Madden because it's, it's a game, but it's going to sell very well. And will likely be a good indicator for how the holiday season is going to go. The fall is going to go for every manufacturer that sports Madden. But I can't say that I'm overly thrilled at the time for Saints Row. But what's interesting about that game, I have a sneaking suspicion that Saints Row is going to sell bonkers. It's going to be the first major celebrated title to be releasing of the season in that window of time. There's a lot of goodwill that seems to be surrounding it that has been slowly building. I don't think anybody was losing their minds excited for it when it first got announced, But interestingly, every time that game gets mentioned, I hear more and more positive rhetoric surrounding it. So my suspicion is that it's going to do quite well, despite it being a remake. And there's more to see on that. There's so much time between now and its release that it could be like some of these remakes that have launched and they're very disappointing. But there's a good chance that this game does well. I'm anxious for the season to start because it is such a packed fall. I was one of the people that was incorrectly stating that it was a pretty light year in terms of AAA titles. And upon reflection, I realized that what I'm actually meant to say was it's a pretty light year on AAA titles from Sony and Xbox, and most specifically Xbox, because third-party stuff, there's quite a bit of it. And
there's quite a bit, yeah.
That needs to be celebrated.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have. I couldn't agree more. The weird thing, and I think that's why people talk a lot about this year being really light, is that all these releases are squeezed in only like 2 months, in the beginning and at the end of the year, and there's really nothing in between. I think that's why a lot of people just have that feeling that this year is really light. So in September, we have some, I would say, AA games like Lord of the Rings Gollum is coming out, Evil West is coming out, which looks fantastic, and Deliver Us Mars. You excited for some of those titles? I think you're muted.
I'm muted because my dog was barking.
All good.
Deliver Us Mars. I'm actually very excited for sure.
Oh yeah,
because
me too.
I really enjoyed Deliver Us the Moon. I don't know why I enjoyed it so much. It wasn't an overly intricate game. It wasn't like something that did grandiose things, but simply put, it was a fun game that knew what it was and it paced quite well accordingly.
Yeah.
So it was the perfect game at the time I played it. The game that I just needed to play at the time I played it. And because of that, I'm anxious for Deliver Us Mars. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, same here. I think Deliver Us Mars is going to be fantastic. I really enjoyed the first one too. I just downloaded it again today because it got that Xbox Series X enhancement patch, and I'm considering a second playthrough now in 60 FPS and ray tracing and everything available there. So yeah, probably doing another playthrough soon. So yeah, Deliver Us Mars is fantastic, and Evil West just looks super interesting.
It really does.
Yeah, it really does. At least for me, it came out of nowhere. Like 2 weeks ago, I didn't even know what Evil West was. And then suddenly I've seen a couple of gameplay trailers out there, and it looks just fantastic. Yeah, can't wait to play that. And then we move into the very crowded October. Overwatch, I don't know if that's a game for you.
It won't be in October.
It won't be
too much else.
Yeah. Overwatch 2 is starting early access on October 4th. Then we have like one of my most anticipated games, Gotham Knights.
Yes.
Yeah. But I do have the feeling that this is probably one of those candidates that gets another delay. What do you think?
I'm not sure. I have a great deal of interest in I said Arkham Knights, in Gotham Knights. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, me too.
It's my most anticipated of the year. There is a world that I can see it being delayed given the crowded nature of October, given the high profile stuff that's in October. But simply put, I think Gotham Knights is going to be a controversial game no matter when it releases. A lot of people are wanting it to be something that it may not be. And I understand that, but they've been very clear that it is not an Arkham game. And I think many people are wanting it to be that. That said, I am stoked for Gotham Knights. That is a game that I've pre-ordered the special edition for. Depending on when review codes come in and if I'm included in that, that'll be the game I'm playing at the beginning, prior to that. So when all these other titles are coming out, that's the one I'm in on. But it is going to be a crowded month. And I've seen some people suggest that like, oh, Xbox needs a big release for this holiday. It's got to put something into Game Pass. Maybe Gotham Knights is the right candidate. I understand that mindset, but I even put it into our private chat. If you look at all the stuff that there's coming to Game Pass in October, you got the Persona games, you got a Plague Tale, Scorn, High on Life, Signalis, Gunfire Reborn. I don't think that game's. I don't think Gotham's coming to Game Pass in October. I can't see that.
Yeah, I think so too. Simply, I actually came from a different angle on that. I've talked about that as well. I think like these major AAA games, I don't think that Game Pass is just there yet. They had one of them with Outriders launching last year as the only first or only AAA third-party game that I can think of that launched day and date. And ever since, we haven't seen a major release right after or on the day of the release of a AAA game. So I don't think that Game Pass is just there yet in terms of the subscriber numbers and monetization models for the publishers. I see Siki in chat saying MLB The Show. Yeah, dude, that is not, that's probably a German thing. I don't know how it is for you in America, but baseball is a sport that is really not known here. I don't even know the rules, so that isn't doing anything, and I wouldn't consider that a AAA game just because of that. But yeah, so yeah, I'm not sure if Warner Brothers would put their high-profile game, one of their two high-profile games of the year, in Game Pass day and date. I just don't see that happening as of yet. Maybe in a couple of years when Game Pass has grown a little bit bigger. But as of right now, I don't think that this is going to happen. Yeah, what do you think?
About which one?
Yeah, about Game Pass being just not there yet for those major publishers to release, like an EA, a Warner Brothers, a Ubisoft, I don't know, day one releases into Game Pass.
No, I think it's there. I would push back on that mindset. I think we've seen, MLB The Show released on to Game Pass right away and did very well. You're seeing, you saw Halo Infinite garnered 20 million players by being free to play, but Game Pass had a lot to do with that as well. I think third-party publishers are willing to do it on occasion. It's just a matter of returns, and is the deal worth being cut for Xbox? Is it worth for them to pay for certain games to be on their service? And then more likely, is it worth for them to say, hey, put this on Game Pass and don't put it onto PlayStation Plus? And I think you're now, given the new tiered system of PlayStation Plus, going to see more competition and higher profile third-party stuff dropping into either service at any given time, specifically to compete with one another. They are not designed to compete with each other, but when it comes to gamers' time and gamers' money, they by default do compete with each other. So I think you'll see a third-party game or two drop in there. Every major publisher that I've seen has been willing to work with Microsoft on Game Pass releases, and that includes Square Enix, who I'm not sure if you saw the news last week. They hate Xbox. I'm told that they physically wanted to fight every single Xbox fan, and they just absolutely threw. I watched hilariously as people reacted to Final Fantasy VII news with such vitriol. But it was very clear that every publisher has some affinity for Game Pass as a service and is willing to try it on some level. And so cheers to that,
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm just not seeing these super high profile games like the biggest blockbuster games dropping in there from the third parties just yet. I don't know if Outriders was a AAA game, don't get me wrong, but it has not the same name like a Batman game or like, I don't know, an Harry Potter game, or, well, Sony has the marketing rights for that, but you know what I mean. So
very few things are Star Wars, Harry Potter, Batman,
exactly.
Spider-Man. Very few things are on that level.
Exactly. But maybe I'm wrong, and maybe they surprise us with one of these games. Another one that is coming out in October is of course Call of Duty. Are you gonna play that? Are you a Call of Duty guy?
So I am a Call of Duty person. I enjoy Call of Duty, but I abstained last year in respect to a lot of the treatment of the people within their studios and some of the stuff that was coming out, and I don't know if the words in protest are right, but I just wasn't interested in supporting Activision through last year. I think given some of the news that's come out in recent months and in the way that Xbox is seeming to handle the acquisition and whatnot, I'm going to be more apt to try it. Plus, in full transparency, I'm more interested in Modern Warfare 2 than I was Vanguard.
Okay.
So that there's that element of it as well. At the time that it releases, you'll note that Halo Infinite will not have just released, so it's not like I have that to default onto. And so it'll be the only first-person shooter releasing this holiday apart from Overwatch. Everything else will be improved versions or updates or expansions to stuff that's already out there. So, I'm in on that one. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm Call of Duty. I'm not a multiplayer fan of Call of Duty, quite frankly. But I do enjoy the campaigns. They are like a good Michael Bay movie, a lot of shooting, good fast pacing, but nothing too deep. But usually I buy those Call of Duty games on sale because for a 5-6 hour campaign, I'm not sure if that is worth the full price. What I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, that's why I tend to buy those on a sale. Then other than Call of Duty, we have November is completely empty in terms of bigger releases so far, at least what has been announced. We get to the unannounced stuff soon. And in December, we have Callisto Protocol coming. Is that a game for you?
Yes, it is. I am not typically a horror game player, but with what I saw at Summer Game Fest, I am absolutely in on Callisto Protocol. Really want to support that team and support the gameplay. It looks, forgive this term, it's so often overused, but it looks extremely visceral. It looks bloody. It looks fun. I'm excited. Dude, this is a year where even casual horror fans like myself, we're eating good. I mean, as I said, I'm playing one right now that comes out, I believe, next week. There is the Resident Evil remake. There is Scorn. There's a Plague's Tale. There's
Dead Space is getting a remake.
That's the one. And then of course, Callisto Protocol. Yes, very in on that one. Yeah,
nice. I do have the feeling though that this is gonna get banned in Germany. I sure hope I'm wrong, but this is so gory. I usually what they do with these gory games in Germany is they just censor it and leave out the blood or something like that. But I don't think if you've seen the animation work and stuff that happens in that game, that just leaving out the blood is gonna do the trick. So that's usually when the German government is gonna ban a game. So I'm still hoping that it will come out here.
I'm not a fan of game censorship of any kind. I am a fan of informing customers clearly when they're purchasing ahead of time. But that stinks, man.
Yeah, Germany is weird in that regard. We have kind of like a problem with gory games. That's like the first two Gears games, Gears 1 and 2, they never got officially published here in Germany because of that, for instance.
Really?
Gears 3 was the first one that was officially published here in Germany. Yeah, so we have this from time to time, and I do have the feeling that Callisto is gonna be one of those. What else is coming out this year? A couple of games don't have announced release dates just of yet. Ubisoft is still apparently launching their Avatar game this year. And with the movie coming out in December, I see that very likely that they are not going to move that date. What do you think?
Well, I'm embarrassed to tell you. I love Avatar for sure, but I talked about those licensed 360 games.
Yeah.
I've been playing this one, and it's not good. It's not good.
No, it wasn't.
but I've been diving in. I love the world of Pandora. I really like Avatar as a film, and I'm anxious for it. We really haven't seen the game, and there's two theories on as why we haven't seen the game. One, they don't want anyone seeing Pandora until James Cameron releases X amount of trailers and content. If you'll remember, that 360 game was a prequel to the Avatar movie and had tie-in stuff as well. No one played it, so it didn't matter. But I'm curious to know why we haven't seen much. I'm anxious for it out of sheer curiosity. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we shall see. It's weird. Ubisoft has actually a lot of games in the making, and they have been quiet for quite a while now. This week we got some news on this other Ubisoft game, Skull and Bones. You remember that pirate?
I don't believe it. I don't believe a thing on that game until it's out. Until I've played it, it's not real to me.
Oh, I played it. And that was like, I want to say 2018, Gamescom 2018, or was it 2019? But it's been a while. The game has been rated in Brazil with a age rating, and also in South Korea, where they had the rating actually last month already. So it seems like that game is coming whenever it comes. It has been rated in Brazil for PC, Stadia, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. No last gen versions were rated in Brazil. So who knows if we will see that. Do you think Ubisoft is going to have some sort of event or stream or something this year?
I think a lot of their political problems are likely stifling anything that they wanted to do presentation-wise, given the upheaval that's gone on, given the way that Yves Guillemot has been reacting to some of the accusations and the way that some of his decisions as far as accusations have been handled. Ubisoft was at their best when they were fighting off Vivendi, and I hoped to see that same level of passion from the upper management again at some point, but I really don't know when it comes to them. One thing that Ubisoft consistently does do, though, is show that they're willing to follow market trends and that they are not averse to putting content onto any system. So they support every console at launch. They'll react to what players are purchasing. They will make things according to what people are purchasing. So if nothing else, there is something to be relied on there.
That's true. And I know it's popular to hate on Ubisoft, but I always give them credit for really supporting their games. They've released for almost all their games next-gen patches. All of them were for free. And the post-launch support is usually pretty good with the Ubisoft games. So we got to give them credit for that. They have said that they will tell us about the future of Assassin's Creed in September. So, yeah, there's hope that this could be a Ubisoft event, and we also see maybe the Splinter Cell remake that they are working on, or I don't know, Beyond Good and Evil 2. It's also something I can't wait to see what that game will be. But yeah, Ubisoft has so many games in the making, and we haven't seen any of them. So another game that is due to this year is, of course, Hogwarts Legacy. It doesn't have a release date yet. Just says holiday season. So you think that's a candidate date that might get pushed into 23?
Yes. It is now. That marketing deal with PlayStation and the timing of I think it's a good possibility it gets pushed, but we'll see. You know what I mean? Like there are a lot of games that could, and none of them would surprise me if they bump. I just hope they do it sooner rather than later as far as announcements, because I think it's a bad look when you're close to release and they're like, oh, another 5 months, another 3 months, another 2 months. Cue Cyberpunk comparisons, you know?
Yeah. I know. I think Cyberpunk scared a lot of developers and publishers. Honestly, what happened with them? Because CD Projekt Red was the darling of the community. They couldn't do anything wrong, and then Cyberpunk came out, and the community came really hard after them. And I think that a lot of publishers are really afraid of that, and Cyberpunk really changed something for the gaming industry. Yeah, I think that's about it for at least for the bigger releases for this year. Anything else I missed, or any other particular game you're looking forward to? Can also be a smaller one.
It's a smaller collection. It's the Cowabunga collection.
Oh yeah,
the excitement that's come off of TMNT Shredder's Revenge. I'm really excited for the Cowabunga collection. I'm a little disappointed that we have not heard anything and they've gone quiet. I literally had the guy that's heading up that project on my show, and we talked about it.
I've heard that. Yeah,
it's gone. So I was like, huh. I'm wondering why. It's also weird that those two teams didn't know about each other's projects until announced. It's very strange as well. But here's hoping that gets worked out, because I'm anxious for that collection. I'm anxious for Gotham Knights, and there's just so much that I am not directly excited for. When's Diablo 4 is not for this year, it's for the next 12 months.
Next
right?
year. Yeah, it's coming 23. They said that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I can think of at the moment.
Yeah. So I think that's about it. The third-party roadmap. So some bigger games definitely are coming. I'm particularly excited for Gotham Knights. Like you said, Plague Tale looks fantastic. Saints Row, probably like you said, Saints Row is probably going to sell really well just because it is the first game that comes out in like 4 months by the time it comes out, and people just want to play something new. I think that alone helps the game. Yeah, Hogwarts Legacy is something I'm looking forward to, of course. Avatar, we shall see if and how that game will be. But yeah, there is stuff to look forward to on the AAA side, even if it's not first party from Xbox or so. Yeah, but I want to move over to another topic. I don't know if you have heard that. Xbox, the team Xbox has won a Daytime Emmy Award for their 20th anniversary documentary that came out at the end of last year. Have you watched that documentary?
Oh, absolutely. Multiple times, actually. Yes.
Oh, nice. Multiple times. I just watched it once.
I watched it in preparation for the Lauren Lanning interview and the Ed Freeze interview that I did for my show. So that's why I multiple times, because they were featured prominently, and I wanted to capitalize on their involvement in one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so they have won an Emmy for that, for the best documentary. Big congratulations to the team. What do you think about the Emmy? I think that's the first Emmy for a video game publisher.
I think it's well deserved. That documentary did a lot of very good things, not the least of which was highlighting the failures of Xbox, and I really appreciated that. I was quite concerned. Not quite concerned. That sounds silly. I did not expect them to own the failures of the Xbox One and the late Xbox 360 marketing as much as they did, and they really owned that. Those missteps, I should say, via this documentary. Moreover, it shed insight, or it gave light to some of Don Matrick's thinking, which I thought was really helpful, because as a gaming community, we tend to lambast Don Matrick pretty heavily. And I would argue the decisions he made really didn't help in many ways, and some bad marketing pieces and whatnot. But a lot of very forward thinking and things that he was suggesting are now commonplace amongst Sony, Microsoft, and some of the other heavy hitters kind of in our industry. And that documentary did just that. We also learned about the Valentine's Day Massacre from that early Xbox team. And consistently it showed that Xbox is willing to learn from its mistakes. And I appreciated the documentary for that. So on those points, I think it's pretty darn cool to see the team that put that together getting credit. It's pretty darn cool to see that with the mistakes fully on display, and that project allowing to be published and greenlit in that form, that shows a confidence in their future vision. and that is equally deserving of credit.
Absolutely. Like you said, I was also very happy to see that they did touch on the difficult topics. Like you said, the mistakes. They didn't really. I didn't have the feeling that they sugarcoat them in the documentary, and I really appreciated them. That. So yeah, I'm glad that this documentary got such recognition. And again, congrats to the team at Xbox for the Emmy. But yeah, something else caught my attention this week. I know. I don't know if you follow Gamescom. Probably you also pay a little bit attention to the opening night with Jeff Keighley each and every year. But Gamescom is that gaming event here in Germany, in Cologne. It is actually, in terms of attendees, almost 5 times bigger than E3. It's really, really huge. And this year it comes back from as an in-person event. But a lot of bigger publishers are not going to attend. PlayStation just announced this week that they are not going to attend Gamescom this year. With that, they followed other announcements from Nintendo. They won't be there. Activision Blizzard won't be there. Take-Two won't be there. So, yeah, I was wondering, all those 2 years of the pandemic, we heard people complain about we missed these in-person events and so on. And now that we have them back, some of the biggest publishers are not going to attend to those gaming events. You think these in-person events will continue to exist if these big publishers just stay away, or will they change in what they used to be as to just a fan event for meet and greets with influencers and such? What do you think?
In all, I think you don't go to a showcase unless you've got something to show. And if they're not ready to show things, it's good that they're abstaining because it keeps expectations in check. Something that Microsoft has also been able to do. They've had things to show at their showcases, which I'm grateful for, because there were a few inside Xboxes that felt pretty stretched thin. If you go back a few years as well. So you don't go to a showcase unless you have something to show. So I don't worry about it on that front. The other aspect of this, that it borderlines on political, which is a little bit dangerous, but the reality is the pandemic is not over, and multiple waves of variants for COVID have hit the gaming industry. Every single in-person showcase has left the games media discussing and posting pictures of their positive COVID tests, and hey, just so you know, I got COVID and whatnot. And while the mortality rate is down, and as a result of vaccines and such, the industry is maybe not quite ready for in-person on account of that. If you've got multiple journalists and multiple developer groups getting sick and then suggesting that, hey, I don't want to do this again, there's probably an element of that. I don't think in-person shows are in danger of not coming back. That is a silly proposition if anyone's suggesting it, but you can consistently look at social media after one of these events and see the results of an in-person event. And simply put, maybe it's just not the right time yet to fully push people towards an in-person event. I hope that it wasn't too political. I don't mean for it to be, but it's simple science and numbers.
No. I totally get your train of thought here. And I think you're absolutely right. Doing hands-on events, and Gamescom was usually that fan event where the regular player can go in and actually play demos on the show floor. Like I said, with 250,000 attendees, that's a super big event. So yeah, that could definitely be one of the reasons. And we've talked about it earlier. For a lot of developers, 2022 is a more empty year, and yeah, if you don't have a demo that players can play on the show floor, why bother coming to it? So yeah, I do hope that it comes back in a regular state, because Gamescom was a fantastic event prior to the pandemic. So I do hope that it will become the same again. Yeah. Then I just wanted to talk really briefly about something else with you, Luke. We have currently on Xbox an ID at Xbox program going on with them having 30 different demos out there for smaller indie games that you can try. Those are not the regular demos. Those are regular demos are more from games that are already released. You can play the first level or such thing. These demos are from games that are, some of them at least, really early in development, and they actually want to help you, help us. Pardon me. They really want to help.
Us
help
to
the
help
developers
them with feedback.
That's where I'm going. Exactly.
I got you, brother. I got you.
Thank you, man. It's late and I'm sweating. It has like 36 degrees over here. It's really hot. So no, thanks for helping me out there. So these Xbox demos, 30 of them are available. Have you tried any of them?
I have tried only one, but downloaded several, and I will be very clear that I'm biased in doing this because it's games that I'm interested in and that I would be interested in having the developers on XEP. The first one that I tried was Terror of the Hemosaurus. It's a game where you play as a kaiju in the vein of the old Rampage games, and you go through a town and you destroy buildings and whatnot. I really enjoyed that demo. That makes me want to play that game, and oftentimes I no longer get enthralled with demos. Once I play enough to know I want it, I will wait until the game comes out, because achievements, because save progress, and things in that category. And so that is what holds me back from playing more demos. But I've downloaded quite a few. On my list that I want to check out are Severed Steel, Metal Hellsinger.
I have downloaded this. Oh, you gotta try that. I played Metal Hellsinger. That game, that is something special.
Is it?
Yeah. It's like this shooter. It reminds a little bit of Doom, but you have to shoot and move and dodge and everything to the beat, to the rhythm of the music. And it's a real small team, and they have accomplished something I think really special, because they got all these big metal bands like System of a Down and so on to make unique songs for that game, so that there is no licensing issues when you want to stream that game. And I think that is very impressive, that you have like really the big names from the metal scene in such a game, and such a small game from such a small developer. And it is really a unique concept. I definitely recommend to check it out.
It's one that I have my eye on for sure. And I think I have like 12, 13 games here that I'm interested in checking out. The ones that I tend to avoid are the like visual novels, narrative-based games, that kind of stuff. That tends to sway me away, just because that's not where I enjoy my gaming content to be.
Yeah. I've also downloaded a lot. I didn't have the time to check them all out just yet. Shadowrun Returns. I played that. Fun game. Can't wait for the full release. Yeah, definitely. Strings Theory is one that I downloaded. And I played like 10 minutes, but I couldn't get into it. So then I have also downloaded Terror of Hemosaurus, or I don't know how to pronounce. Yeah, exactly. I haven't played it yet. I also downloaded Batora Lost Haven. That's one of these.
I downloaded that one.
Yeah. So and Grid Force, Mask of the Goddess is also something I can recommend to check out. It's cool. The demos will be available till the end of June. June 27th is the end. So guys, definitely go out, play some of these demos, and give the developers feedback. I think it is fantastic that Xbox does something like that. You can definitely get in touch with some of the developers and just give them constructive feedback. So that's the Xbox demos. Then Luke, I don't know how interested you are in some tech news.
Give me some tech news. I'll pretend to be interested no matter what it is. How's that?
All right.
Oh
All
my
right.
gosh, that's incredible. Oh, sorry, I went early. Sorry.
Yeah. A couple of months ago, I think 3 months ago, AMD released their Fidelity FX Super Resolution, a technology that is similar to NVIDIA's DLSS that upscales lower res images in a very smart way. And this AMD FSR 2.0 technology is now available in the Xbox GDK. They made a big deal about that today on Twitter, and I was actually a little bit surprised because I thought that was already available to developers, because I have seen very, very similar news about 3 months ago. Have you seen this?
No, I have no idea about technology in any way, shape, or form, but I'm so impressed that it's there. Yeah, it's not my world, man. Unfortunately, I'm the guy that just wants to play it. I don't care what box it's played on or any of that stuff. If I get one frame more on one box versus another, I don't care. I just want to play the games and enjoy it. So I'm ashamed to say I'm probably not the right guest for this kind of news.
But
okay. I'm glad when it happens and people get excited for it. Does that make sense? I enjoy the other excitement of others.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah. I'm a little bit different. I like to know how stuff is made. I'm with you on like the emphasis if we get a pixel more on that machine or a frame on that. But I generally enjoy technology, and I like to know and learn about stuff, how stuff works, and FSR is a big deal. It will probably be one of the topics from my next video. So then we just move on. I want to ask you, are you a Tony Hawk fan?
I am a Tony Hawk fan, but a casual one at that. And I saw the news.
You saw the news. So bad news for all Tony Hawk fans, like myself as well. There was a Tony Hawk remake in the making for Tony Hawk 3 and 4. Just similar to the remake that we got in 2019, or was it 2020, when we got the remake for 1 and 2. That remake was in development, but it got scrapped by Activision when the developer Vicarious Visions merged with
Vicarious Visions.
Is it Vicarious Vision?
Vicarious Visions, yeah.
Okay, Vicarious. I thought it is pronounced Vicious. Oh, so okay. Vicarious Visions. Yeah, they merged with the mother company, and they are no more. All these devs are now working on Call of Duty, and that's why we don't get a Tony Hawk 3 and 4 remake. What do you think?
It's a long line of bad moves by Activision. It is by no means their worst or most egregious mistake, but it is up there. It's a shame. I look forward to when Bobby Kotick and some of the number crunchers within Activision aren't necessarily motivated by quite the same things, and when they've got the backing of Microsoft. I think, a lot of times you can look at decisions like this as indications of what the company really wants to do big picture, and it seems like with the current leadership that's there at Activision, they are not motivated by making good games and helping the gaming industry, and while selling games, also doing what's right by people that making them. And I'm anxious for Microsoft to take that on, because they certainly need to do a lot to fix the culture there.
Oh yeah.
But I could see a world where 10 years from now, you're getting those kind of projects and they're not being canceled. They're being supported by Game Pass as a subscription service. They're being supported by a release schedule that wants content consistently. And it's just another in a long line of bad Activision moves, and I'm anxious for that leadership group to exit.
I'm right there with you, and it's gonna be one of the biggest challenges Xbox has ever faced, because they get 10,000 new employees. That's just as big as the OG Xbox staff and the ZeniMax and Bethesda staff combined. And yeah, we all have seen the news over the last years with all the harassment and stuff going on, the bad decisions about some of their product portfolio, and all these things need to be corrected, and that's gonna be a big challenge for Xbox. But yeah, I'm with you. I can see a future where they hopefully will fix that, and we get some of these exciting IPs back. So yeah, let's hope that this is gonna happen soon. Now, I just briefly need to change the gameplay because I ran out of Fall Guys footage. Let me show you some Ayuden Chronicles footage. The game that I finished just earlier today. Such a fantastic smaller game. I don't know how other podcast hosts do it. They do like 10 things in parallel. I always need some time to change gameplay and turn off the volume and stuff like that.
Well, I am no producer myself. My show is audio only, so I get it.
Yeah,
I get
it. Makes things easier in that regard.
It does. It does. It doesn't help numbers, but it makes things easier.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to mention another topic. Microsoft has came out and confirmed that they are now not just having a console shortage, they will also have a controller shortage, especially across Europe. They confirmed that not just the Design Lab controllers are running low on chips. Of course, every other controller is affected as well. And that just continues the streak of chip shortages and availability of stuff. Luke, what do you think? The shortage, is it really a big problem for us gamers? I mean, with controllers, we can probably live a little bit better. Console availability itself is another story. But do you think we will see the end of this soon, or is it just going to continue and it's something we need to get used to? What do you think?
I think it's something we need to get used to. The reality is there's a shortage of everything worldwide, some pandemic related, some not. There's labor shortages in multiple places. Inflation's going up.
Yeah.
Resources are harder to get. Components are harder to get. And then the ability to put those components together into workable product is continuously getting more and more difficult. Microsoft seems to have managed that a bit better than its opponents at this time as far as chip shortages go, and their console sales are being affected. But controller shortages are likely an issue also, particularly if you're Xbox and you have a controller shortage and you're launching simultaneously programs that allow you to play games without a box, but you need a controller for input. That is an equally difficult thing. I think it's a reality that we need to become accustomed to, become aware to. I don't know about where you are in Germany, but like where I am, I've become used to walking into any grocery store in my area, and I am not in any type of a way suffering, but I will see bare shelves pretty regularly because certain types of products regularly cannot get through ports, or they're not getting made quickly. That is just par for the course for the time. So my advice to anyone and everyone is take good care of your stuff. Don't throw those controllers and waste them, for sure, because it'd be a darn shame if you were pinching pennies and then suddenly there was nothing available to you.
Yeah, I fully agree. We have the same situation here. If you go into the grocery store, some products are just not available. And with the chip shortage itself is not the only problem. It's more of a logistics problem. In my actual job, I have to deal with the chip shortage as well, a lot actually. And I usually say it's actually not the chip shortage, it's more of a logistics problem. We had, like, for instance, one chip manufacturer who has had a real problem supplying us with chips, but as it turns out, making the chips wasn't the problem. He didn't get the plastic foil to wrap his product up, So that was his actual problems why he wasn't able to ship. And the reason why he couldn't get the plastic foil was because there were no truck drivers. So it was actually that. And it's just the world is like it is at the moment. I think we need to get used to it because this will continue for a long time, well into 23, if not 24. And yeah, the controller shortage that was confirmed earlier this week by Microsoft is just a continuation of that. Luckily, I at least do have enough controllers. But yeah, like you said, if you are a company that wants to grow their business, like Microsoft does with all the cloud stuff that is going on, where you just need the controllers and not the consoles. Yeah, it is unfortunate that you have to deal with that in addition to that as well.
Right.
Yeah. So let me have a brief look here into my show notes. But I think we covered pretty much all the news of the week, which is awesome. And with that, we move over to the section that I call the community questions. So, the community questions, Luke, is the section where people can write in questions up front, either on Twitter or YouTube, each and every week, so that you can be part of the show, even if you can't watch it live. And we have a couple of fantastic questions, actually. The first is coming in from Dave Ramos, who's also a very generous channel member. He writes in a fantastic question, Luke. Okay. If you have 5 minutes with Sarah Bond, Phil Spencer, Matt Booty, or Jason Ronald, who would you choose to sit down with? And what question would you ask him or her? And do you think they like pineapple on pizza? That is a very important question here on this show.
Well, no one should like pineapple on pizza. Pineapple on pizza is actually a sin, and it's awful. It's a terrible thing.
I absolutely agree. And it's the only correct answer to that question. So
right, yeah, like there's a world where, and I watch it in forums and chats all the time, where people argue about which plastic box is better, and you're a fool if you think one is God's gift and the other one's terrible. But if you think that pineapple belongs on pizza, you're actually the problem. You know, that's just that's a terrible thing to think, right?
Absolutely. So coming back to the actual main question, if you had the chance to interview like a Sarah Bond and a Phil Spencer, Matt Booty, or Jason Ronald, what would you ask them?
Man, that is such a mean question, because those are all dream people to have on XCP, right? Like my bread and butter is interviewing, and I love and want to interview as many voices as possible. And a goal of mine is genuinely to be of a caliber where those people are willing to sit down with me, right? That is a genuine, real goal of mine that I hope one day does come to fruition, where they're willing to, and they enjoy sitting down and we get to have a good conversation. But I think the name that I consistently come back to is Sarah Bond. And I really want to sit down with Sarah Bond for a very particular reason. I'm a school teacher by day, right? Like you know this. I'm on summer break right now. That's why I'm able to join you. And Sarah Bond represents, and it's unfair to put this pressure on her, but she is iconic in very many ways in the gaming industry, in that she is a woman of color in a leadership position at a major outlet that's pretty much dominated by white men, or at least has been for a long time. Yeah. And if I could have a conversation with her about what it means to fall into that role and the pressures that come with it, and then ask the very important question of what would you say to young girls around the world who are interested in getting into games, but perhaps nervous about it being a male-dominated profession, or climbing that ladder, or the difficulties. If I could ask that question, then I would have that anecdote and her answer to talk to my students about. In my classroom right now, even on summer break, on a bookshelf is 100 Women in Games, and it sits next to the Ori and the Will of the Wisps Collector's Edition and a statue of Master Chief and whatnot, because I love gaming and I bring that to my classroom pretty regularly.
Man, I wish I had such a teacher.
But I would love to have her answer to point to and remind my students why it's important to be a good writer, to craft stories, why it's important to be a good writer, to help be able to celebrate yourself and discuss things that you're passionate about, so that you can do a resume or whatnot. And so that would be why I would want to talk to her. And I've thought a lot about that question, of course. And I do want to say again, no matter what, I would be privileged to talk to any of those people, but I would selfishly ask that of Sarah Bond, knowing it's a weighted question, and then use it for years in my classroom to help motivate people to get into the profession.
That is a fantastic question to ask. I can't follow up on that with my ideas of questions. They were way simpler than yours, but I love it. If I had the chance to interview them, I have different questions for all these different people. Jason Ronald, for instance, would be a question I would ask. What is the Xbox Backcompat team now working on? Because we know no more backcompats games are coming. No frame rate boost for all the games anymore. So what is that team doing now at Xbox? That would be definitely something I would be curious. For Phil Spencer, I would definitely have a challenging or difficult question. I would really like to know his thoughts on coming out of the last years so many times, putting out more or less the same tweet about apologizing to us game for something that happened, and promising to do better. And then I would like to know his feelings or thoughts about this 2022, where he has no first party output for like 15 months. Would be really interesting to hear that thought.
Can I tell you what I would ask him?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, do you mind? Okay, because I've thought about this too. I would want to know, and I would want a very sincere answer. I would want to know if what kind of toll being in the spotlight has on him, because for several years he was the face of Xbox, and if you paid attention in the last year, they've been phasing him out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's a good thing to do as well, but not because he's bad at it, but in fact you want a diverse set of voices, and you can't rest on just one person. Imagine if he'd gotten sick the day of E3, right? Like, so I would want to know what kind of a toll it takes on him to feel the pressure and the weight of the company that he had to take on, and how he feels about it then versus now, and you know, how it affected him personally, because he seems, for all accounts, much like Shuhei Yoshida and Jack Trenton on the Sony side, he seems like a good dude. And what does it mean to be in the spotlight? How does that affect your ability to communicate with your family and your people and whatnot?
That's a great question. That's also a very great question. You know who else sends in a great question? Is Waller Weasel. I've seen him in chat. What isn't good about his question is the side note. I want to start with that, because he writes in he likes pineapple on pizza. Ugh. So I was really debating on whether I should read his question or not. I shouldn't have. Yeah, I shouldn't have. He writes in, says, "Hey Boxenberger, much respect for your hustle. How tough was the busy E3 week for you?" And I want to also ask this to you. The E3 week, the showcase week, is usually very busy for content creators. How did you experience it?
I abstained from production, so I guested on people's shows because I'm not a great producer. That's a shortcoming of my own. I did do a live reacts to the Xbox show over on Season Gaming's channel with my cast co-op partners Ainsley Bowden and Mr. Badbit. We did a live reacts there, but it was busier. But I worked really hard to make sure that it didn't burn me out because I wanted to enjoy it. And in fact, when we were live reacting to the Xbox show, I was not very high on it. I was pretty lukewarm on the showcase overall. It was only upon reflection and time and relaxing a little bit that I realized just how many great pieces of information were packed into that thing. And so I think sometimes we work really hard, particularly as content creators, to respond to something when in fact we're better served to take a breath and consider something before we speak. And I say that knowing full well that I often react to things too quickly, right? So there's that. I do want to note we have some very silly people in chat arguing about very silly things, but I do want to acknowledge the pineapple on pizza does not belong on pizza. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Awful.
It is. It absolutely is. Yeah. The thing for me was like I had a few days off of work and was able to actually watch a lot of stuff, of course, and then of course participate in a lot of stuff. And I did like, I want to say 17, 18 podcasts in like 7-8 days. So it was really busy for me. It was also very interesting because that way I really learned so many different opinions and views and reactions of people on the stuff that was announced. We did not just cover the Xbox showcase, we also talked about, of course, the Summer Game Fest and some of the smaller showcases that happened, like Day of the Deaths or Tribeca and such things. And we also did, of course, something for the extended showcase, Xbox showcase. And so it was really interesting to see all of that. Nevertheless, I also learned where my limits are because it can be really stressful to be on like 2 or 3 podcasts each day. But it was a fun week. I appreciate everyone who hang out here on this channel. We had a blast here. So that was definitely a week to remember. Then I got a question from Doom Reaper. He writes in, what third-party game coming to the Xbox are you most excited for the next 12 months? So I think we already talked a little bit about this earlier. We're both very excited for Gotham Knights, but if we extend it to mid next year from the third parties, what is the one that you are excited for the most?
Oh man, that's so hard because there's been so many that have been announced, right? So Gotham Knights is, of course, my number one.
But I know you're just as big as an Arkham fan as I am. Suicide Squad is still announced for the first half of the next year.
It is announced. I am excited because it's a DC game and I really enjoy DC. But I'm very curious as to what that game really is going to be. It's a co-op experience that involves not the heroes of DC and not the prime heroes of DC. And Gotham Knights doesn't involve its main hero for its family, at least at this time. I'm sure Batman will be in there, but it is an odd sell, right, to play as the Suicide Squad. So I'm curious, but I can't see that game coming in the first half. I see that as a holiday title. To me, that's a holiday title.
Yeah, I think so too. I think this will be moved towards the end of the next year. Yeah.
And good on them. It needs to deliver. It needs to deliver.
Absolutely. And since Warner Brothers has already Hogwarts and Gotham Knights coming out this year, presumably at least, I would be surprised if they didn't have the headroom to maneuver that more towards the end of the next year. So, yeah, I think it is, at least from the third parties, Diablo 4 is the one that comes to mind. probably it won't be for third party anymore by the time it comes out. But yeah, I think Diablo is definitely the one I am looking forward to the most, from what is at least right now a third party. Yeah.
I was lukewarm on Diablo because of Immortal, but I am slowly getting there and being very more excited for it.
Since Diablo 3 is my second most played game on the Xbox One, I can't wait. I put hundreds of hours into it. I actually was so excited about Diablo 4 being on the show that I re-downloaded Diablo 3 again and put actually a couple of hours into it again. It's still so good. So yeah, Diablo is definitely an exciting one. But yeah, man, Luke, I want to wrap this show up. I want to thank you again for your time, for joining me here today. It was fantastic having you on. So thanks again.
Oh, goodness gracious. Thank you. I'm so privileged to have been here, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's always a blast to chat games with you and gaming with you. So thanks again. Let people know where they can find you. That's easy. Just click in the description of the show. You will find his links to the Spotify, to Twitter, and so on, to his YouTube channel. Everything is in the description. But let people know what you have coming up.
Sure, absolutely. Yes, you can find the Xbox Expansion Pass on all your podcast services. And of course, the main draw of the show is bringing in developers, voice actors, etc., to XEP to discuss their craft. Coming up on the show, on the next episode, you'll hear an interview with the Sniper Elite 5 lead designer and discussing kind of how they went about crafting Sniper Elite 5 and how they kept the game fresh after so many iterations and spin-offs, etc. Beyond that, without a date, I have engineers from Turtle Beach and SteelSeries both coming on to discuss their latest headsets. I'm testing.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that is cool. It's something we don't hear that often. We always get the game developer interviews or so, but never the accessory developers. I love that.
Yeah, so I'm trying out the new SteelSeries Nova headset and then the 700 Max Gen 2, whatever, for Turtle Beach. They're sending that one my way to test out as well, and it's coincidental to have them on so close to one or the other. But I'm excited to talk to them because it is different, right? And whenever those particular episodes drop, of course, I'll be tweeting them out on Twitter at Insipid Ghost. You guys can find me there, and that is my social space. And you guys are more than welcome to follow, check it out the show as well. And if it's for you, stick around. I'd really appreciate the chance to rotate into your podcast feeds, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I recommend it. It's a shorter podcast, like usually you're somewhere in between 30 minutes to 60 minutes. And I appreciate that. It can be easily squeezed into the everyday life. So yeah, fantastic podcast. Definitely check that out, guys. Yeah. As for from my side, I'm actually going back to making edited videos after covering the entire showcase week with a lot of live shows and guesting on other shows. I finally found the time to make a video already. That will be out. I don't know if I can launch it before the weekend. It's definitely going to be out on Monday, the latest, and then next week we will have Dealer Gaming on here on this show as a guest. It's going to be awesome. But for now, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who joined us here today. Even though I see the chat was a little bit heated here towards the end, still appreciate you guys hanging out with us. And I see you guys next week. And don't forget to game on.